If you're a music teacher who loves teaching, but it feels like your studio is slowly draining your time, creativity, and life as a musician, then this video is going to be for you. So if you're watching this, you might be teaching one-on-ones, maybe feeling a little burnt out. Maybe you've tried creating a course, but students just don't finish it. Or maybe you're wondering if you'll ever make real profit without losing your love for music. I just want to let you know there is a better way to build your studio, like a way where you can earn what you want, teach students that you love, and have all of the time in the world for your own music too. So, a little quick story time for me. I felt like it all clicked back in marching band. You know, that feeling of creating music with my best friends, of like building something bigger than just me. That is what made me fall in love with music. But somewhere along the way, the dream got messy. Like I felt like I was teaching the same private lessons over and over the entire week. And I made good money for a private piano teacher, but I eventually got to like 20 students and capped out. And that's what really led me to burn out as a piano teacher, to the point where I would cancel lessons because I was just so tired. And since I was coaching other teachers at the time, I found that my clients were going through the same problems too. Like I would think, what's something more that I can add into my program, right? Should I add in a course for my students? But when I thought of that, like I kept feeling like my students would zone out if like the video was too long or anything. So I felt like I'd just get better results just walking them through myself. So then I asked, like, should I buy a bunch of pianos and teach group lessons so that people that couldn't afford my private lessons, they can finally buy. But going down that route, that will cost like thousands up front, and I would still need a studio to rent it. I would need to find a studio to rent to like keep all the pianos in, right? So at the end of the day, though, why are we all doing this? We're all trying to answer the same question: how do I stand out on social media as a music teacher so more dream students stay, pay, and refer without sacrificing student results and without sacrificing my own music too? Because I had to really think about what would that mean if I was stepping into the shoes of the students, right? And I thought about my biggest growth moments that I could remember as a musician, like what made me want to stay, pay, and refer as a student. And for me, it was the best memories that I can remember. It was performing marching band shows with like 250 other students. My best moments were collaborating with my music production coach. There was a time too where my college band and orchestra, we went on a California tour and traveled the entire state and performed. Like those were my best moments and my favorite moments as a musician that I carry through in my future as a musician too. So I realized that my students do not need more information. Your students probably don't need another teacher, another person to give them more information that they can find somewhere else. They need a space to experience, right? Like these experiences that I had with music were the thing that really attached me to them. So you need to create a space that inspires your students and helps them become the musician that they want to be. So the question here is like, what if your studio wasn't just a place for lessons, but a collaborative space where real musicianship is nurtured? So just a little bit about the teachers I help with, the teachers that I work with, I feel like they don't just teach songs, they build a space where students lead their own learning and they stay for years. So you can find a course, right? But a course is just a like a bunch of info. And nowadays, like AI can just replace all of that. Like I could just go to ChatGPT and learn how to play music from there, essentially. Like I could. Um, so courses are now becoming obsolete, right? Even though more people are making courses, it's becoming way more saturated. So how do we compete with that? There's also group lessons that you could go towards, but I feel like group lessons, if you're thinking about it, the live group lesson route, that can still cap your income. And it's also sometimes feels like a nightmare just to try to schedule everyone in at the right time. And of course, private lessons, it just feels like it puts all the pressure on you. And, you know, that's the whole trading time for money, that thing that we're trying to avoid. But the model that I wanted to share it's connected, it's scalable, but most importantly, it's deeply student centered. And it's what I call the collaborative teaching model. And it's built on three core ingredients that I want to share with you today. The first one is creative clarity. So these are things like custom roadmaps, play along videos, practice trackers, targeted tutorials that help students stay motivated and and uh, and progress on their own. So the goal here is not just to create resources like a full course or anything like that, but only create resources that target specific problems that are stopping your students from getting to the next level. So for you, instead of having to go down the route of like either explaining the same lesson and repeating the same lesson every single week to different students, or creating this like giant 10 module course that nobody ever finishes, you can create targeted tutorials that solve like one specific roadblock that you can send to students over and over again if they're facing that same problem. You can create studio roadmaps so that students know what the path looks like ahead and they know what success looks like. But also, I've had teachers create like play along exercises so that when the students are using them, it feels like they're practicing with you live right there. So the goal with this, though, again, the goal is with it is creative clarity. So the goal isn't to build like the biggest resource library or the largest course out there. It is to create the right resources, right? The ones that keep your students inspired between the moments when they see you live and free up your energy for where you're needed most. So that's the first one, creative clarity. You need to have resources that give them that clarity of like information. This you still have to give them information, right? But give it to them in your way. Number two is going to be self-led support systems. So these are going to be simple tools like milestone roadmaps. You can think monthly reflection check-ins. You can think like video feedback that helps your students know exactly where they are and what they need to do to improve. Because if you were anything like me, like with a bunch of students, I feel like most teachers are running like 10 different lesson plans at once, right? We try to personalize each lesson for every student every week. And although it can be helpful, it's going about that way is it's exhausting, right? And the problem isn't that you need to niche down only to beginners or only to advanced. It's that all of the learning requires you to be there. So this is where the second pillar, the self-led support systems come into play. And this is where they like these systems is what helps every student in your studio move forward at their pace without you needing to actually be there to teach live every step along the way. So these tools that you want to create, these will you want to think of them as giving structure without being strict, right? Personalization without feeling overwhelmed. But best of all, like they make it easy to take on students with different goals, different skill levels, different learning styles without actually sacrificing the experience too, right? When I think like creating a course, it's like you're excluding all the different learning styles that there are. And it's like you have to learn it in this way. Whereas when you have boundaries but not make it so strict and rigid, this is where you can go from repeating like the same lessons every single week or feeling like a broken record when you're talking to every single every single student going through the same problem. Instead of feeling like that, you can build like I said before, milestone maps where that lets students like see where they are and where they're headed, kind of like a GPS. You can also give them performance audit cheat sheets, right? So if a student if a student is performing or if they're auditioning, right, you can give them an audit that helps them take more ownership over their progress and almost be like their own critic. So rather than you having to tell them the same feedback over and over again, you can have them learn to be self-led, right? And then lastly, I've seen so many of my teachers do just like simple video feedbacks where they can send a progress clip, get guidance, but your students can send them on their time, and then you can give back the feedback on your time. So the magic here is that even though students are on different paths, they don't feel isolated. And that was the key thing that I felt when I was in like the traditional model of learning piano as a student myself. Like I felt really isolated. Like I was just doing one-on-one lessons. It felt alone. The only time I ever see other students was during a recital. So with this type of model, they feel like they're on their own journey, but together, right? And the key here is not about giving up personalization, but it's finally having a system for it. So those are the first two. The third point of this model is going to be the co-creation touch points. So this is where the experience comes to life. Because no matter how many dream students you get, if you still have a model that burns you out or burns your student out, then it's not going to be sustainable. So this is the point where we put in live and like asynchronous community moments that you can think of. So like group sessions, group student showcases, creative challenges. These are the things that turn your studio into a place where students stay connected. They feel motivated. They hold each other accountable, but they're like creatively fueled because they get to dictate where their progress goes. So instead of creating a long course where like students zone out, or like private lessons where you feel like you carry all the weight and the responsibility of the information, the accountability, and the coaching. But also, instead of having group classes that are still capped at a certain point, but are a nightmare to schedule, you get to build something a lot more creative, something that other teachers can't even replicate, right? You could do like weekly co-creation circles or collaboration classes where students can be able to work together. They can practice together rather than feeling like they're practicing alone, isolated. You can have mini collaboration projects, right? Then those are the things that are going to make the learning more social and more fun. But also importantly, like more times to perform in front of others and like show off their progress. So like student showcases, showcases where people can just show off their progress without the pressure of having to put on a whole concert, right? That's what keeps the energy high, but also keeps your students towards a goal that they have, whether they are performing professionally or not. So this right here, though, this co-creation touch points, like these co-creation touch points, this is the heart of your teaching model. It's where students don't just consume, but they contribute, right? They're not just, you're not the only person leading, but their students are self-led. And that's what creates the community that you curate so special and so unique from other studios out there. Like you can't replicate you can't replicate the group of students that you curate because you can't replicate people. And that is what is going to keep them showing up, progressing, but also referring others for years. I like I like the way that I like to think about this is like the reason why it works so well is that your students lead the learning, right? You don't have to go through a method book or have to plan out this entire like 6 month lesson plan for them. Like they take themselves through the learning, they move towards their goals, but you are the curator of the experience. You lead the experience that they are going through, right? You are the guide. You are not the person dragging them along to the other side. The so if we want like a more practical example of this, I want to walk you through how we actually do this inside the Lifestyle Music Teacher Collective. So the way that I teach and I coach my clients, there's no like rigid curriculum, not like a cookie cutter formula, but instead I like to map out three core shifts, and we can think of it in like phases or shifts. But ultimately, we build the studio around you, right? Your style, your energy, your students. So here's what this looks like. And we can think of the first phase as becoming an irresistible music teacher. And this is the first place where most teachers get stuck in because I see it all over Facebook where they describe their studio with like words like fun, it's affordable, customized to your child's needs, which technically it sounds fine, but honestly, like if you look at it, that could be anybody, right? So what happens so what ends up happening is like I see people lowering their rates. They'll try to add more instruments to be more unique, right? Or they'll toss up a flyer in a Facebook group hoping that somebody bites. But here's the real issue. The real issue isn't your price. It's not that you need to teach more, but I feel like it's that your identity as a teacher isn't coming through clearly enough. Because when your brand feels generic, doesn't matter how great of a teacher you are, if dream students can't feel you, if they can't know exactly why you are the right teacher for them, it's going to be really hard for them to say yes. So what actually works with helping them instantly get you who you like, and instantly see your content and just get who you are, is by sharing not just what you teach, but who you are. Because your best students, they're not just looking for any other teacher out there. They're looking for you, right? And if you think about the students that have stayed with you for the longest amount of times, they've stayed with you because they just want to work with you. And that is exactly what we need to get clear on, right? What is the transformation that you really offer? How do you own that value? How do you express it and communicate it confidently in your content, whether it's in your content or in a conversation that you have? A great example of this is one of my clients, Krista, and she was going from in-home lessons and she wanted to go fully online, but the biggest fear was like, what if my students leave? So what we really focused on was not just the model, but reframing her identity so that she didn't feel like she was switching models. She felt like she was stepping into a new level of leadership, right? Where she can be able to still teach her favorite students, but she had to reframe it herself. That was like, these students are not staying with me just because I'm offering in home lessons. They're staying with me because of my power, because of who I am. And what ended up happening is that her best students stayed because they didn't want to learn from anyone else. Like she would get responses from parents being like, they were a bit hesitant about moving online, but they were just like, we're going to take the leap. We're going to trust you because we like working with you. So that's the first phase, right? Once you get that down, that is how you become an irresistible music teacher. So the next phase, though, is I call it building a six-figure solo teacher brand. So once your identity is clear, once you know who you are, who you're stepping into, the vision, the goals, the offer, right? The next piece is how do we actually make sure your brand reflects that? So this is where a lot of teachers get this wrong, is like they post these generic tips or these tutorials that you can just find on YouTube, or they mimic what like the big music schools are doing. But here's the thing, like your brand doesn't need to be louder or more polished. It just needs to feel like you. It needs to feel real, because that is what your best students will connect with. And when someone like finds your profile and just says like, wait, this feels different. Like I want this. This person is like for me exactly. Like this is what we build. So inside of like, by becoming a six-figure solo teacher brand, we make sure that your visuals, your copy, your energy, like all of it, it actually it reflects who you are, right? So now that we've got the identity shift, how do we communicate it? When you communicate it to the right students, they feel like they've just found something just for them. And from there, we'll build like a content system that works without you, like needing to be on 24/7. So you don't need to worry about like needing to create content every single day or every single hour. It's about having a content system where you feel omnipresent, where students can be able to dive deeper into your world without you needing to deliver like a free trial lesson or giving up your time for free. So a good example of this is with one of my past clients, Emily. She had a big music school and she named it all over, like she named it after herself, kind of going about that traditional route, but to some degree, it felt kind of cold, kind of corporate, and she didn't feel like she really connected with the parents that she was attracting with that brand. So we rebranded it into something called Rockstar Rebellion, and that completely like changed everything because everything just aligned with her mission, her message, and who she was as a music teacher. And suddenly, she was not attracting parents who just needed an extra babysitter. She was attracting parents who shared her values, who wanted to contribute to the community also. So this is how you can get content to flow naturally. And for her, she knows exactly what she needs to say in her content, but also she's not chasing students anymore. She's just attracting them. So that's what happens when you build a six-figure solo teacher brand. You don't need to create a brand that encompasses all the teachers that you have hired, or feel like you have to be this corporate like music school. You could just be you, and students can just work with you because they want to work with you. So, all right, the last piece here, this is the one that really changes the game, because even if your messaging is strong, even if you are attracting the best students in the world, if your delivery model is burning you out, it is not going to be sustainable. Because I hear this all the time where teachers go from one-on-one lessons to groups, and they're thinking like, oh, okay, that'll solve it. But then they try to launch a course, right? But then here's the thing, group classes are still going to cap out your time if you're doing like live group classes every single week, kind of like that traditional way. And then courses, right? Like courses were great during COVID when online learning was getting like becoming the norm. But nowadays, like technology is moving so quick that AI is here, ChatGPT is here. I can learn an entire textbook of music in just a few hours, maybe just even an hour, because of how good AI is. So now courses are actually becoming obsolete. If you are putting out a course as a music teacher, you are just like every other YouTube tutorial or AI that is out there. And plus, AI could just do it way better than you. So, what students actually need, though, the thing that you can't be replaced for, is the experience that you create, right? Your students want a space where they can grow with your support, but also without needing you live every single step along the way. So instead of feeling like a content machine where I have to keep putting out courses, I got to keep putting out more information, we help you become a community curator. And a great example of this is one of my teachers, Victoria. She has multiple different income streams coming from like YouTube. She has her own exercise program, which is kind of like her course. But we created is we created her subscription like membership. So this is like a membership where she has over 50 voice students in it, but she's only teaching like 4 hours a month. Like if you were to count the amount of times that she's actually live on Zoom, I don't think it's more than 4 a month. And the reason why she's able to do that is because of the way it's set up and the way that students are still supported in between the big group class that she does through like asynchronous touch points. She's able to give them feedback from videos that they post inside of her student community. And she sets up these small group classes, which are kind of like co-creation sessions um, where her singers can be able to sing together and sing in front of each other, where they're not just on this journey alone, but they know they are here with other people too. It's more fun for them. They stay longer because of that. More importantly, for the teacher, she is not just teaching nonstop, but her students are growing still, and so is her income. So the big picture with all this is that all three of these, right? Identity, brand, the delivery, the model, they it lives inside of your own lifestyle music teacher roadmap. This is what we build together. So you're not just plugging this all into like a pre-built course or anything like that. What if we do work together, you're co-creating a teaching model that finally feels like you. And the way that I like to share it is like with my clients is like you bring the vision and I help you build, right? I'm not going to tell you exactly what to do because I can't. I can't tell you exactly how you best create content or how you best teach your students. It is something that you lead with, but I have the tools and the decision making processes that I made in my life. I can be able to share that with you so that you can make the best decision for your business. So if you're wondering what this actually looks like in practice, if you're looking for that support, um, I want to let you know I don't give you another course that you disappear into, but the collective is more of like this hands-on support, um, like hands-on high support space where you can grow along other lifestyle music teachers, and where every part of how I support you mirrors the model that I am teaching you to build too. So you can not only get inspiration from other teachers, but you can get inspiration from myself. And that's where you'll get the same ingredients that you'll be offering to your students. So you'll get creative clarity from me through like personalized tools, roadmaps, trainings, helping you know exactly what the next problem is. You'll also have support systems like coaching touch points, that keep you moving without needing to be inside of your own private lesson every single week. But also, there'll be lots of moments to co-create where we do that inside of our weekly circles, community threads. That is where like the real breakthrough happens, not just through information, but through osmosis. Just literally hanging out with me and the other like-minded teachers. The conversations that we have are transformational. And that is really for you at the stage of where you're at. You do not need another funnel. You do not need another ad strategy. You know how to run your business. But what you do need is you need to know how other people think, what their decision making process is, and how you can apply it to your own. The best part is, though, you're not doing it alone, right? You're building with others who just get it, right? Who care about music, who care about creativity and building something sustainable. So if this resonated with you, right, and you want to build a studio that fits your life, helps your students thrive, and finally pays you what you deserve, feel free to DM me the word lifestyle on Instagram. I will send you a document with all the details on what the collective looks like. But again, there's no pressure, no hard pitch or anything like that. I want to make sure that this feels like your next move in your journey. So if you need a conversation to see if this is a fit or you want more info, feel free to reach out and we will take it from there.